Today we're going to do some work on this Frogeye Sprite. This car came in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and it had a bare metal rebuild, and it was in a bit of a state. It was red then. It should have been Old English white, and we did put it back to Old English white. Now, we addressed a lot of rust issues, a lot of accident damage issues that have been previously bodged, and it came out really well. The only part of this job that I didn't agree with at the time, the bonnet was chemically dipped, and that's a process I'm not keen on. Now, what happens there, after the panel comes out of the chemical, it's blasted off with water. Now, that does two things. That traps water in the seams. Bare metal, water equals rust. Not a good idea. Also, if the chemical isn't properly washed out of the seams, it weeps out later, and that's what's happening with the bonnet on this. The chemical is now weeping out of the seams. But this car is used on a regular basis. It's not his daily driver anymore, but he uses it a lot, and he uses it in all weathers. It's out in the salt, it's out in the rain. He does a lot of miles in this car. So there are 1 or 2 areas where the chemical is seeping out from the seams, so we're going to have to address that. You can see here where the chemical is running out of that seam.
Yeah, because it does look like rust
It
to
does.
the untrained eye, but
It's actually a different colour. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are 1 or 2 specks of rust on this car, but it was done a long time ago and it is in daily use. And it's another example of you can address the rust that you can see, you can't address any rust that's hiding away that you can't see. But to be honest, the length of time this car's been done and the miles it covers, this has held up really well. I mean, all of this area here was completely rotten. The doors were rotten, all the wheel arches were rotten, the rear suspension hangers were rotten, and this car's done really well.
say it's held up, hasn't it?
It's held up really, really well, because it was a good car, but it's 60 years old.
Yes, it's bound to have a few problems.
It had some issues. I mean, we had to put new floor pans in this.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff we had to do to it. It looks great now, but it's just these couple of issues, which is not really a lot we can do.
It's kind of a thing you get with old cars, don't you? You've got to
chase it all the time.
Every few years, yeah.
When they're 60 years old, you've got to chase. It's like an old house. There's always something to do to it.
Yeah.
Because it's old, and you can only address the problems as they arise. And Cameron's going to clean the stains off it now, and we're just going to see if we can do something about that. It's very difficult because the chemical's trapped in there, and that's why I never chemically dip vehicles, because I've never yet not had a problem with it. So we blast them, but we don't chemically dip them, because this is what happens.
So I'm going to start cleaning up the underneath this bonnet. First, I'm just going to go over with a bit of panel spray wipe and some blue roll. I'm just going to get rid of the muck and all the shit that's built up from when he's been driving it, so that way I can, see chemicals that are coming through, and then a bit of compound afterwards to see what can clean up and come off. So, bit of blue roll. I think have a little focus on this bit here, because we can see a fair bit there. So I'll just give it a bit of a spray. Actually, I think these chemicals are going to come off alright, because a little bit's already coming off just with a bloody panel wipe. So with a bit of compound, it's going to fly off. Well, hopefully.
Right, Cameron, this little Frogeye Sprite has got a running issue. It misfires when the engine gets hot.
Right.
Now, we've already fitted a new coil there, a new ignition coil, which is normally the problem. This car is mildly modified.
Yeah.
It's not a standard engine. This is actually a 1275 engine in this one.
It should be.
It should be 950 something, yeah. And this has had an uprated ignition system. This one's been fitted with an electronic distributor. So I suspect that the misfire is either the fault of the ignition coil, which is common,
Yep.
or the electronic distributor. Well, the coil is the cheapest component, so we've
Right,
changed
first.
that. Yeah, we'll change that first. So what we're going to do is let the engine warm up now, and let's see what's going on. What I will do, we'll just check the levels. Well, check the levels. We've had to put quite a lot of water in it, which is a surprise. We'll just check the oil in these dash pots. And what we do there, look, see that? You can actually feel a resistance in there.
Yep.
It's slack to there, and it goes in, and there's a resistance. That's when the little plunger on the bottom of this little rod hits the oil, and it should be about there. And that oil acts as a damper for the piston inside, which stops the car hesitating when you put your foot down.
Right.
And lots of people don't bother with that, and it's really important. Okay, so that's okay. Oil level's okay because I checked that already. So, do you want to start it up and let it warm up?
Yeah.
Just turn the key up. No, just turn the key. Right, Cameron. We've let this little engine warm up. It's at running temp now. We've held it at about 3,000 revs for a while. If you can take the front spark plug out and the rear spark plug,
Front and rear.
yeah, do that one first, and we'll see what's going on. Because there is actually still a little bit of a misfire. It's nothing like it was. Okay, now these are the spark plugs which were supplied with the AccuSpark ignition kit, which are kind of a multi
It's got three.
a multi-electrode thing. Okay, it's black, which means it's running quite rich. So if you take the rear one out, let's see what's going on with that.
Back in, or?
No, just leave it out for now. Because obviously the front carburettor feeds the front two cylinders, rear carburettor feeds the rear two cylinders. So we'll see what's going on with each carburettor. Yeah, they're about the same. I think, to be fair,
This one's not as bad.
well, it's good enough. I mean, the thing hasn't been out on the road. You really need a long run, but that's actually not bad. They aren't suttered up. That's not so bad. These run a little bit better on a slightly rich mixture anyway.
Right.
I mean, your ideal fuel mixture on a petrol engine is about 13 to 1, so that's 13 parts air to 1 part fuel. So if it's running 10 parts air to 1 part fuel, these will be suttered up. The fuel won't burn properly, not enough air to burn it properly.
Yeah.
And we call that, it's running rich mixture. If these were white colour, or a very, very, very pale grey or coffee colour, very pale, then it's running lean or weak.
Yeah.
It should be a medium to dark coffee colour. That is in the middle. That is.
Yeah.
So these are not far off. Having said that, these A series engines, they like to run just a tad on the rich side, and this one is a little bit modified as well. So you just need it does this one has a little bit more fuel going through it than you would normally use. So Cameron's just putting the spark plugs back in. Just a little note on spark plugs. We've blasted these, we've cleaned these up, but the tiniest bit of copper grease on the threads there, little bit, it does stop these seizing in. And the other thing is, make sure these ends are tight, because when they come loose you don't get a proper spark. Yeah, and also when you tighten them, all you need is a little nip up. You see people really tight, I mean they dog these in really tight. You don't need to. You do them, you nip them, you don't need to tighten them a lot.
Just nip them up afterwards.
You just, it's a quick nip and that's it. That's it. That's it. All you need to do. Okay, that's running nicely. I know this pipe keeps popping off, but someone's made that and it's not quite right, but we will see to that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to set up the timing on this, called the ignition timing. We're going to do that by ear. We aren't going to use a timing light, we're going to do it purely by ear. So that's what we'll do next. I don't know if you can hear me over this engine, but right, so we've loosened the distributor. So what we're going to do, we're going to alter the ignition timing now. Okay, we've just retarded that couple of degrees. We'll just let the engine get warm. Fettled the Frogeye, we've done a bit of tuning on the engine, we've put a new coil on it, it had a misfire, seems to have cured that, so we're just going to take it for a run, see how it is. What a great little car. That is fun on four wheels, fantastic. It drives great, so we can hand this back over to its owner. I think he'll be very pleased with it. Okay, well we'll just do a quick update on the Jensen. There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes, inner sill structures etc. have all been rebuilt. The horrible vinyl roof has gone and all the paint's been taken off that. And that's revealed a few interesting things. Well, for a start, the roof is all over the place. I think someone's rolled on the roof. But also, we've found some rust in the roof. So we've got that to sort out. All along this front edge is rotten. So we've all that to sort out. Headlining's gone. So we can get to all that. Screens are out, front and rear screen, and again we've got rust to deal with here, in there, both sides, same the other side, and in the back here, lots of rust to deal with there, and at the rear of the roof here, there. So we have that to sort out. But work hasn't stopped by any means, but stuff like this just takes forever to sort out. And as you can see, we've got one or two panels sort of tacked in place, just so we could make sure they fit, which they didn't. So we've had to trim, we've had to cut and trim those and alter them. And we need to get all of these panels in place before we can do any more major work, at least tacked on, so we've got the basic layout done. And you can see here, for example, the amount of trimming that we've got to do on some of these panels. This one was also about 2 inches too long. You can see that here. We've had to cut the front off to sort that out. So that's where we are. But now we'll take a look at 3 new vehicles which have just come in. Okay, well, I'm just down here on a Sunday, nice and peaceful. Quite like Sundays because no disturbances, the phone doesn't go. It's quite nice down here, nice and peaceful next to the river. Yeah, and I'm just going to show you 2 new TV show cars that are going to be done here. They appeared yesterday. This one, Lotus Elan 1963, very rare car. I can't show you too much of what this car is or how we're going to go about it, because that footage belongs to the television company. But there's the car, and here's another one. This is a little Vanden Plas 1300 Princess, 31,000 miles, been stood for a long time. Quite a straight little thing. This is going to be an interesting car, and that's another one we're doing for the TV show, so that'll be interesting. I'm quite looking forward to doing both of these cars. This is, of course, in addition to the Jaguar Mark 8. This is the Jaguar Mark 8 which we're doing for the TV company. So 3 cars all at once this time, so look out for that show. I believe it's due to be released in March 2022. Of course, that date's not set in stone, but I think that's the planned release date. But watch out for that. That's the new spin-off of the Bangers and Cash show on the Yesterday channel. Well, that's it for this time. Join us again soon for more tips, tricks and updates.
Ooh.